intro.
No, baby, that's for somebody else. We're just gonna keep you right where you're at right now.
It doesn't matter what you think.
The Wrestling Realm presents Break It Down with Brian H.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of Break It Down with Brian H. I have the one and only Miss Jenna, baby, on the line from the Mixed Tag Show. So, last year, we almost coming up on a year on that show. Shout out to her co-host, my good brother, Blue Magic Grind. The show he didn't like the name, which was WrestleMania Backlash, that the real Dwayne Allen and I had the honor of getting on, and we still gonna bring him on the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. But Jenna always said, Brian H., you always give Blue love. And what's up with me? We got beef, which we show improved at Jabba Slam. That is all love. Check the feed, you can see the photos. But I was sitting there, with way women's wrestling has been going, and I'm excited. There's some things that I'm like, did you have to do that? But she was definitely a voice that I wanted to bring on, and one of the more respected people in the business that I enjoy hearing. So the Mixed Tag Show is on my rotation, whether I'm watching on YouTube or listening to it on the Spotify app. They get my views and listens. So, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Like I've recovered from my long vacation and Rumble. I'm feeling good. So, just trying to get back into the grind of things.
That's awesome. First and foremost, so we just making history right here, February 1st, 2022, because she's the first person to wear a Wrestling Realm t-shirt while being a guest in the building. So shout out to her. We appreciate the support. You can get yours at WrestlingRealm.com.
Exactly. Support the man. Buy the merch.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. And while you're doing that, make sure y'all get on Twitch every Tuesday. I know we're gonna do the plugs later, but I'm gonna do it right now as well. Make sure y'all get on Twitch every Tuesday. Go to the Mixed Tag Show because they have a show called Put You On, and it is an original show created by the Blue and Jenna, where they sit down with professional wrestlers. Everybody likes to do interviews, and that's cool. I like to do it myself. But the thing what they do is they sit down and they watch the matches, and they have them break down the match. Now, this is a part where I shift from host to press agent, and me being the press agent of Amber Rodriguez. She was a former guest on there, and her and Jenna sat down and looked at a match from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Let's just say y'all might have to do a sequel.
Okay.
Maybe about 6 to 8 months. And I'll leave it at that. That's all I can say.
Because listen, I'm down for that because we see after that, right? Not to say that the show, but just she's doing big things. Girl, she was on AEW. So she's doing she's official.
Yes,
official,
y'all,
like
y'all make sure y'all
whistle.
stay connected, and so how about you was at the Royal Rumble?
Yes,
and was this your first Rumble?
No, it's not my first. Actually, my third Rumble.
Wow. See, I'm envious because I haven't been to one yet.
Oh wow, really?
So which ones you've been to?
So crazy because I should have been at the one in 2008 at Madison Square Garden because it's New York, but I wasn't going to shows like that. I know, and my mom wasn't gonna let me go to shows, even though I was like already an adult. But anyway, that's besides the point. The outside of this one, you get it, right? Outside of this one, I went to the one in Phoenix, so that's the one the day that unfortunately Kobe passed. That day, and then I'm sorry, that was in Houston, and then the year before that, that was at in Phoenix. So I've been to those three.
That was the first women's, right?
No, the first women's one was in 2018. The crazy thing was I was so mad at one of my friends who ironically was sitting at Ramp with us I'll never let him like I always give him shit for this.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to go to Philly because New York, Philly's not that far off, and we were supposed to go. And he went and just bought tickets without even telling me anything. So I got mad. I'm like, dude, this is the first ever women's Royal Rumble, and like I wasn't willing to go to Philly by myself and sit by myself and all of that. So when we had these plans of sitting with each other and going, I was super, 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 super pissed. Like I did not talk to that man for I want to say at least a month. Then eventually apologized, and it was all good. But I regret that so much not going to that one.
I think, and see, somewhere down the line, I think we related because that sounds like something I would do.
I mean, come on,
I
and
would
you,
I
you
would have been
like
mad.
right, and it's just like it's the first ever women's Royal Rumble, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it was, if anything, if in my opinion, since I could remember, one of the probably the better Royal Rumbles. So like, it was just unfortunate that I missed it, but whatever. That's the past. I evolved. I'm I call myself Zen Jen. I'm all about positive energy, so it's all good. It's fine. I'm over
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've always wanted to do a rumble. I haven't done one yet.
it. Hmm.
Hopefully soon because yeah. So I want to do the Classic Four. I did Survivor Series this year, as you
Right.
know, and that was my first time. And I've done two WrestleManias, 28 and 33.
Yeah.
So Royal Rumble and SummerSlam are must have. Because I was supposed to no, I was going to do I think it was last year's SummerSlam. That wasn't a goal, but
Yeah.
then my uncle, who he's a manager, gospel music manager slash drummer, I do the video and stuff for them and their
Yeah.
anniversary. And I'm like, dude, your anniversary is the weekend of SummerSlam. Now, here's the crazy part. He's like, if you look at any of my family, he's the biggest influence of me in wrestling. So
Yeah.
like that day I remember talking to him and I was telling him about the opportunity that I had coming up. And like I could see like how proud he was. Like, he was the first person who gave me like my first belt, which was like a old school wrestling belt they had in a magazine or something, and
Yeah.
gave me all the tapes. I'm like, so you was the big wrestler fan before I came along. How did you
Yeah.
not know? But it is
And
what it is.
Clock blocked everything for you because you could have went.
Yeah, I'm like, you would schedule your anniversary on the weekend of SummerSlam? Like, come on. But
Your
it
own
is what it
family.
is. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk this year's Royal Rumble. You are one of the biggest Sasha Banks fans I know. Um,
Yes.
were you disappointed when she was the number one entry?
I wasn't disappointed um how can I put this? So I was more so disappointed but hyped the day before, right?
Okay.
Because let's if you even take it back prior to that, right? When they said she was going to be out to 6 to 8 weeks because of that injury, and I looked it up. I'm like, that's a bruised heel. There's no way you can be out for six to
See how
eight
much
weeks,
that's
right?
you're a fan. You went to,
I
you
had
went to
to
the
I had to look this up because, like, what is a calcaneus bone? Like, it was like I don't. That was weird. So I looked it up, and then all the other Sasha stands did the same thing, and we saw that they said it takes about 3 weeks or so to heal. So I was like, no, she'll be back for Royal Rumble. So I was already putting that out there, like whatever. What I was disappointed with was the Friday before Rumble was that she came out. And it's like, well, wouldn't you want her as a surprise entrance? And especially since you said she was gonna be out 6 to 8 weeks, wouldn't you want that to be a surprise? So now that led me to believe, well, if that's the case, then that means there's someone else that they want as an actual surprise.
Mhm.
So that's where the disappointment came. I wouldn't say I was disappointed that she came out number one, just because I feel like Sasha's one of those people in the company, whether it's male or woman, that they rely on her. Like you rely on her to like coach other wrestlers or just give an all out performance. So I just felt that that was going to be the thing, that maybe they'll have her at number one and just have her like stay from 1 to 30, because
Mhm.
it's Sasha Banks. Like, I'm not even to sound biased, but it's literally one of your biggest stars, not even in wrestling, but just in general, your biggest mainstream stars. So I was like, maybe it was gonna be a 1 to 30 type thing. So I wasn't disappointed necessarily in that her the number she came out with.
Yeah, I will say, like, her going out being a third person eliminated. that was shocking.
Yes.
And so I was wondering, I was like, well, maybe, it was a take it easy type of night. Because when she was not, so Bianca was my pick, but Sasha was the person that if you would have given me a pin, I had been calling for Sasha since like November, December.
Right.
I was like, it's just writes itself. Her and Charlotte. To me, I feel like, and I want to know your opinion. I feel like they need to have the WrestleMania match. And the reason why I say that is I look at iconic rivalries in WWE.
Right.
Hogan, Macho Man, Austin, Rock. You could say John Cena and Batista to an extent, even though most people say John Cena, Randy Orton, but they never had a one-on-one match. But I look at like those iconic rivalries, and I'm like, Sasha and Charlotte is on that level.
Absolutely.
Therefore, let them have their WrestleMania match, their moments, and let Sasha finally go over. And the Royal Rumble would have been perfect.
Yep.
And now I'm like, I understand it's Ronda Rousey, but goodness gracious.
But do you understand it's Ronda Rousey? Because I got to think about like you said, and I think we actually had this conversation a couple of months ago, and was trying to get together in regards to doing I think a spotlight episode on Sasha. So you and I had the same sentiments in regards to that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, maybe if this was a couple of years ago and Ronda Rousey came out as a surprise entrance, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I can understand it because it's Ronda Rousey. But Ronda Rousey, you got to think she's like far removed from UFC, right? And the way she went out was crazy, right? Her first thing in WWE, it was like, I had to grade it from give it a letter grade, I would say maybe a C.
What?
In my opinion. Yeah, listen. Did you not listen? Hold on. Listen. You got to see how many she had really good matches. One including with Sasha. But I think she was just most of the time extremely awkward, whether it was on the mic, whether it was she was awkward, right? And then the way she kind of had a tantrum because the fans weren't behind her. It was just a lot with her. And then she went away, right? Had her baby and was really just incognito, right? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say her star dimmed, but her star dimmed, right? So now you see someone as Sasha from that time, from that 2019, who's continued to elevate her star. So it's just can you really say, well, it's Ronda Rousey? I honestly, I would say, it's Sasha Banks. This is the same person that was on Star Wars. This is the same person that opened up the national championship for college football. It's just it writes itself in regards to who should have been the person to dominate in the Rumble, in my opinion. I know it's biased.
No, but
I
this
can't
is
help
why I
it.
love having these conversations.
Yeah.
Because it also makes you look at parallels, right?
Yeah.
So a lot to unpack here, as they would say.
Yeah, because you was what?
So I'm not really the person who looks at the ratings and stuff, because understand in television, it's not measured the way it once was. But I'll say for Ronda Rousey, she got out of the UFC just in time. You could make the same equal to Mike Tyson. Them two are so equivalent when you think about it. Mike Tyson, he was suspended in 1998. You talk about how his career, how it ended for him. He was coming off of 2 losses to Evander Holyfield. Ronda Rousey was coming off back-to-back losses to Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. Now, I'm not a UFC person, but Ronda Rousey was the person who, when she was fighting, I would tune in. Her coming off
for sure.
Both of them were benefited from the WWE's brand, Ronda and Mike Tyson. Therefore, the WWE made them relevant, right? Because if Mike Tyson would have kept losing, yeah, he was the baddest man on the planet in the early 90s, late 80s. But if you look at it 98, 99, if he would have kept losing, it would have just Like he would have been a has-been, right? Same with Ronda Rousey.
Same with
They
Ronda, right?
they made her relevant. The difference is like Tyson didn't get a title reign. You know, you didn't have to, especially because you had Austin.
Yeah, you had like a lot of big stars at the
Yeah,
time
like you
in
was
the
building.
90s. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I look at Ronda and I'm like, I think she did well, give or take. You know, I liked how like she was working with the other ladies and whatnot, and they helped elevate her. You know, she even talked about like the sisterhood where she was always used to fighting against people. Now she was fighting with people and creating the magic in the ring. So I understand that, and then you know she gone away long enough that you bring her back, it makes it special. Now, me being biased, wanting what I wanted Sasha and Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
But now, like, just listen to you talk. What I'm thinking was going to happen with Charlotte, Sasha. I'm feeling Rock WrestleMania 20, where Rock's star power in the movies was rising in 2004 as he was, you know, making it work. It's hard to believe. People forget. A lot of people may forget Rock was on the undercard, like him and Mick Foley teaming up to go against
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Evolution.
Yep.
And maybe Sasha will be put in that role. I hope not. I would love to see her and Bailey or something, whatever it takes to get her a win. That's all I want, right? But
Yeah.
I do believe, as much as we might not want to admit this, that maybe her time as a full-time WWE superstar is winding down. And then when she just turned 30,
Hmm.
maybe she does Hollywood. Maybe she starts a family. And then maybe she'll have that one comeback run, be that part-timer, but then her stock is going to be so high that she will be on Rock levels. Because I think when you think about her and John Cena, those are like the 1-2 WWE superstars that I could see crossing over into Hollywood and being box office. I don't think I've seen. I'm not a Batista fan, so even if he was, I wouldn't admit it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've seen anybody that's like, now. Obviously, to say they're going to touch the Rock, that's a whole different level. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I do think that they will be box office.
Listen, and I agree 1,000%. John Cena's already there, right? You see, he's in a lot of notable movies,
Mm-hmm.
big time movies, like whether it's DC, or and hosting and commercials. He's already there, right? With Sasha, it's not even something to say. Hate to admit, I've said it multiple times on Twitter that her career is extremely parallel to The Rock. Not to
Mm.
say she's on the same level in regards to star power. I'd say, again, I'm biased, but me being my favorite wrestler ever being The Rock, I can see those similarities just in the sense of, yes, The Rock was a huge star back in the day, but the focus tend to be more so on Stone Cold. But The Rock was just so good that he fought his way for that 1A, 1B spot. So you can't deny him. Whereas Sasha is very similar, right? It was like going back to what you said in regards to her and Charlotte. That's an iconic feud. You got to think about it. After
Mhm.
the women were called superstars and not divas anymore, this was kind of the feud that streamlined that whole. All right, these are women superstars and we're taking them serious. It was their
Mhm.
feud, right? So, but it was even in that feud, even though Sasha was clearly more gifted in regards to in the ring, they kept hyping Charlotte up. Charlotte is athletically superior. She's Ric Flair's daughter. She's this, that, and third. And obviously the way they were booked, Charlotte essentially always got the upper hand, right? So I can see those similarities in that sense.
Now,
But
you know what? You got me thinking real quick. Because you said like Rock or like, you know, being the guy, even though like everything was Austin, it's
yeah,
like COVID made Sasha like, you know how Rock and Triple H held down 2000 when Austin was out with the
when
neck
Austin had
injury.
to go. Yeah.
And it's like Sasha and Bailey did that when essentially the company was in limbo. They
Yeah.
held it down. And you could say when Becky was out, even though I wouldn't dare say Becky is Stone Cold, um,
Yeah.
they held it down. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I can see the parallels. Like I see it more now the more you explain it.
And again, and it's the thing is, she's time and time again has proven herself. When I don't At this point, I don't think you have to. If someone is constantly giving you top 10 matches every year, and the buzz on social media, or even people who are not wrestling fans. Like, look, this Sailor Moon
Mhm.
cosplay or gear. It's been the talk for how many days? Like, people who are not wrestling fans talking about, I'm not a wrestling fan, but anyone who cosplays Sailor Moon up, I'm a fan of. And then you see Bleacher Report putting, what were the three top stories of from Rumble? Sasha split, Seth Rollins trolling Roman,
Roman.
and then I guess if you want to say Ronda coming back or Brock winning, right? It was a split. How does a split dominate that weekend? So this is what I'm saying. Like, it's been too many times where she's had to constantly prove herself, and she doesn't have to, because it's it's everything is right there with the reaction that she constantly gets, and I feel constantly, Vince and them take that for granted. So I agree in the sense of, I wouldn't be surprised, even though her and The Rock are slightly different in the sense of her passion for wrestling is like, not to say he doesn't have a passion for wrestling, but this girl literally, you know what I mean? That was her end all be all.
Mhm. But I think
So
sometimes when that bump card start filling up, and
listen, hey, like you said, she just turned 30. So I can see, and I think a lot of people in the crew can see that, hey, listen, look how many times she leaves and comes back, whether it's injury or because of whatever else she's doing. But especially if this is gonna be like this, like, if you're gonna constantly be pushed aside for others, I
Mhm.
can definitely see Hollywood calling and her taking those phone calls, because why not?
So let me ask you this before we move on. What would you do? You got the pen in your hand. How are you booking her for WrestleMania?
Well, if I had the pen in my hand since Rumble, she would have, if she was gonna come out one, she would have made it all the way to 31, and this would be the main event of either night one or night two, against her and Charlotte, because like you said, it writes itself in regards to their past, even going from NXT and then coming up,
Mhm.
and she finally gets her big win. That's really what it comes down to, because again, she has in her career, specifically in her main roster career, she has had to put over so many people, whether it's Charlotte, whether it's Bailey, whether it's Becky, when she's the man, whether it's Ronda, whether it's Bianca last year in the main event. Sasha has constantly put over numerous talent, and
Mhm.
made them look amazing. It's like, yo, at this point, she there's no reason why Sasha Banks is 0-6.
I,
Like,
I
she has legit the reverse streak.
I
Like,
think it bothers us more than her though.
I I think now it doesn't bother her, because she went through her whole metamorphosis back in 2019. But
Mhm.
I can see in 2019 when she left. Granted, she wasn't on the floor crying like that Ryan Satin, that rumor that he came up with,
Mhm.
but it obviously, all that took a toll in the sense of like, yo, it's betting
I
on
think
yourself essentially. I'm a top star, and I constantly getting pushed to the side, and I'm not, yeah, it's not, everything is not about wins. It's just about creating magic. And, well, come on. I think at one point it had to have affected her.
I think more
Maybe
of
not
the
now,
I think
but
more of the title reigns maybe. Um,
okay.
like, all right, we can do this real quick. The first WrestleMania 32.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they was gonna go with Charlotte.
Right.
That was just about being there, right? I
Right.
think 33 was Bailey's moment. I think they really wanted to, Bailey. If you were, she wasn't a year on the main roster, right?
Right.
So that was more about, let's really establish her and
As a
letting her
super
get
baby
this
face.
win. Yeah,
Right. Right.
34. I think she was in the Battle Royal, right?
They were in the women's, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever, I forget what it's called, the women's, whatever
yeah.
they call it that, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
So 34 was like, okay. 35, she was burnt out from far as we know. So she was probably like, here, ta- take the belts.
Yeah,
I would have loved to seen them hold on to it, obviously. Um, 36, what was 36? 36 was
that was that was during the pandemic,
pandemic.
essentially.
So
Yeah, so yeah, so and it
that
was
one,
at
that was more about Bailey. Again, because that was to continue their story. Like, you remember people want them to break up, and I was like,
Yeah.
no, they need to like stay together. And then, like, I love the way they did that whole thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, it was
Because
beautiful, but it was just like, but also too, if the pandemic never happened, I truly believe that, again, maybe this might be naive, but I think the story would have been played completely different between Sasha and Bailey in regards to that would have been the match at
maybe so.
at Mania. But obviously with the pandemic and like you said, they had to essentially quarterback in regard and put the company on their back for that whole
Mhm.
lockdown or pandemic or whatever. So they were forced to change the story up a little bit. But in hindsight, it was a blessing in disguise because it was just they told an amazing story that whole summer and just killed it. So
Yeah. So like, so what we are 0-5 now, and then last year. So I think like last year I was flipping a coin. I remember I had on my Sasha shirt. I let my daughter wear the Bianca shirt because my daughter literally had to make a pimp decision at the night of WrestleMania, and then boom, Bianca comes out first. She sees the hair. That's instantly her favorite wrestler. Sasha
yeah,
comes out. So they're like 1A and 1B. They're like, as
for
Dwayne
sure.
would say, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. That's Sasha and Bianca for my daughter. So
Yeah,
last year was essentially it was Bianca's turn, considering you built her up and you brought it home. So
yeah,
I think, like I said, that's why I feel like the Undertaker streak wasn't on purpose. It just made sense. Then it
yeah,
became on purpose. So like
yeah.
Sasha's the same thing. It's like, when you look at it, it made sense. Sure, we would have wanted her to win at WrestleMania 32 or 33, you know. But
Listen. I don't think it makes sense because I hear
no,
what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and I don't want like you already touched on all
which
the
one you would have
matches.
changed though?
I would have changed 32. I would have changed 32
Okay.
because remember how hot Sasha was from the "We Want Sasha" chants and how just completely over she was. Because remember that was also carrying from the takeover matches the previous year with Bailey.
And
So
she had
her
Snoop coming out there too.
and Snoop, it was just it. If Snoop Dogg is like who I think that year what
He
became
was,
the Hall of Fame, he was inducted.
yep.
It just like it made sense. Like, and then you see all the signs if you watch back 32. It's just nothing but Sasha signs and just the way they erupted for her. It just seemed like, yo, it's her time. I get it. Charlotte was the golden girl, right? So in that sense, yes, you're gonna have her continue. But if it just seemed it made more sense. The fans wanted Sasha. Why aren't we not giving it to her? Like
Mhm.
the next year, yes, I get it with Bailey. Even though I felt like they shouldn't have gave Bailey the title that early on a random
Oh.
episode of Raw. She should have been crowned champion at Mania. But granted, I get that. 34, that was a shit show, right? Because they were doing the start and then not starting with the Sasha and Bailey feud. So that was a mess. And then 35, they shouldn't have lost because it's like they were still so much to do with that tag team titles.
Yeah, they could have
So
established it.
yeah, so it's just I hear what you're saying, and I'm not necessarily 1,000% disagreeing with it, but I feel
Mm.
like
I mean,
you know
if anything, I would say 32 would have been the
probably the
time, but
time for her to win. Yeah,
especially, but it was like, oh no, but we want to make sure the same person who walked in as Divas champion leave as women's champion, and I think that also like, you know, but it, I would, like I said, I would just love to see her get that opportunity this year, but it just don't seem like it,
I tell you,
barring injuries or something.
when she got eliminated, I was I was like I was like I had
Who
my
is
head
who
down.
was your pick going in?
Sasha, that was my pick.
Okay, okay.
That was my pick. Yeah, I mean, if I couldn't think of anybody else. I even said because remember she was injured, so she was. I still said no. Sasha's gonna. She has to be there. Like I couldn't.
Mhm.
I know you said Bianca. I just didn't see Bianca going um
2
back to
years.
back two
Yeah.
years in a row. I didn't see it. It would have been cool, but I didn't see it. And then there was no one else that has been built up to
Mhm.
be the one to main event WrestleMania. So I was like Sasha. It really made, and then especially if you have her and Charlotte on all the live shows facing each other for the SmackDown Women's Championship, it's like, so that seems like that's where you guys are headed to in regards to Mania. But
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, you know.
yeah, yeah.
But I definitely want to talk about Bianca. Um, are you? Do you think we get her in the rematch that we all as fans deserve at
No,
WrestleMania?
no, and I'm this is why I told you when we were talking about doing an episode and everything like that, and I was like, I need to rant because remember last year when not Bailey, Bianca lost in however many seconds to Becky.
Mhm,
People said, wait, wait, be patient because this is building a story between the two, and she's gonna get her redemption, this, that, and the third. Is that happened in August? Is January 22? She didn't win the Royal Rumble. She you know what I mean? Like, and it looks like I don't know what they plan on doing, whether it's Ronda versus Charlotte or
oh,
Ronda
come on.
versus
We
Becky.
we we know, we I think it's I think they wanted the Ronda and Charlotte match at WrestleMania anyway. Becky just got in the way. So I think
For
now they
sure,
could do it.
for sure. But even still, right? Even if you
Mhm,
go back to that WrestleMania, yes, that it was said from before that it was supposed to be Charlotte and Ronda, but Becky's star got so bright that you
mhm,
had no choice but to put her in there. But now, like, understand, like, Charlotte and Ronda essentially has been told already because they what was it at Survivor Series that
yeah.
one year? Like, the story was already told, and then
Remember, it
even
didn't
at
have a
rest
finish.
it didn't have a finish, that's true, but then it came down to WrestleMania. Charlotte wasn't even in the picture in the sense of pinning Ronda. It was
Mhm.
Becky. So where's the continuation in regards to that story? So you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
in regards to Ronda and Charlotte. So it's just like, okay, so now I can see maybe Ronda and Becky because there's still something, the bickering between the two, Ronnie and Rebecca, this, that, and third, like them going at each other. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna be pessimistic in the sense of I don't see Bianca doing any for WrestleMania or getting her redemption, and it sucks. This is what sucks about Ronda Rousey coming back because now it ultimately pushes back the women's division. You spent the whole year, even before that, during the pandemic, building up Bianca into this the EST legitimately, and
Mhm.
her absolutely killing it and taking everybody by storm. Not even shit, even mainstream wise, right? She's being interviewed by who is it, Stephen A.
Mhm.
And just all these different and winning awards, and it's like, so okay, if I see that again, if I say this to Blue all the time, if I'm running a company, I'm putting the jetpack on this person's back, and we're just riding it out. But again, with Ronda coming back, now that pushes everyone else back. Bianca, Liv, who did amazing at day one. Sasha, what happens when Bailey comes back, right? What happens when
Mhm.
Bailey comes? What does Bailey do? Naomi, she's been doing not pretty, but very well against Sonya. What's next with Naomi? The same old thing where she's just nothing is done for you. They got Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss didn't even show up at Rumble, and I don't know what they're trying to do in regards to her character.
Well, let me ask you this,
Asuka,
right? If
mm,
I want you give me a scenario if Ronda chooses Becky, who does Charlotte face? And if Ronda chooses Charlotte, who do Becky face?
if Ronda chooses Charlotte, then I can see Bianca facing uh Becky again.
Okay.
If Ronda picks Becky, then Sasha and Charlotte would be obviously the go-to for SmackDown. But again, my thing is, even with all that said, it shouldn't even be all of this. It shouldn't even be, well, maybe if Ronda picks this person, then we can put. Like, these girls shouldn't, after winning, main eventing and creating history last year and getting these awards and all this, it should not be like, all right, well, Ronda Rousey is back, and now these big stars don't do anything. And the crazy thing is, if you watched Raw this past Monday, I know you said you're not into ratings, and I'm not that much into ratings too, but that's glaring to hear that Raw started off at 2.1 million viewers, to end off the night at 1.6, and this is with Ronda Rousey. So
Oh,
that says a lot. You have
you news to me.
that says a lot when Ronda and quote unquote Becky, the biggest star, and I don't believe that, it is in the main event after Ronda winning the Royal Rumble. 1.6 people, and it's crickets in the arena.
That's what it's going to take if fans aren't happy, right? And the kids aren't interested, because that's what ultimately is, that demographic, right?
Right.
Turn away if that's the case. Now I'm interested because obviously with Fox, it's it's Fox, and Fox has the combat and the sports. I'm interested to see how the numbers will look, come Friday with Ronda Rousey being on Fox making her decision. And so I'll be interested to see that. But
Yeah.
that is, it's kind of shocking, but I guess also, like, I mean, I don't know. I don't look at the trends, so I don't know which hours typically do better. You might know that
Right.
more than I do.
Right.
But there's no denying, like, as much as I'm not a fan of Brock Lesnar going and coming, I should say. Because, like, when he's there, if Brock would stay and be there every week, I would probably be like fine. Even if he was
Mm,
there on a just every pay-per-view basis and maybe
right.
like go home show, I'm fine. Like, this Brock, he all right. I don't want to see him
Yeah,
champion,
yeah.
but he
Yeah,
all
yeah. But
right.
I can agree with that. I
Eh,
don't hate this Brock. I
yeah.
don't.
So, like, with him, but regardless of what, he's money. That's why they keep going to him. Maybe, and this might prove to your point earlier, we might see that Ronda ain't all that everybody thinks she is. That's what I'm interested to see.
Listen,
Maybe
and
she's not the answer.
she and it again, the thing is, she may not be the answer. And then it's like, but the thing is, WWE doesn't really listen. They're gonna go with what they want. So it's just like, all right, she may not be the answer, but she's Ronda Rousey. So let's you do you honestly think whoever she picks at Mania, she's gonna lose?
That's the thing. I can't see it. But if anybody, like, I see, it's weird because, like, I would rather her beat Becky, but I want Bianca to win because I truly believe that she's going to choose Charlotte. As much as I hate DM's reports, right? I
Mhm.
can't, like, I try to, like, mute the accounts, but obviously I
No, I
can't.
get it. Yeah, no, I
And
get it.
so it's like, all right, you know what? He said that's going to be the case. Fine, fine. So if that's the case, like, I do think it comes full circle. I do think Bianca gets the win over Becky Lynch. As much as I hated the 12 seconds, as much as I hated it, I will admit what I saw was her stock rose tremendously, because the biggest thing for Bianca that a lot of people don't realize is in the crowds never got to witness the chase. We witnessed it through computer screens and the Thunderdome.
Yeah,
So it was hard to, wrestling's always been about the chase. So, and then once they get it, it's fine. So we never
right,
got to really see her chase with the crowds. We never got to get those promos of her fired up with the
right,
crowds there. Now we've
right,
been getting that, and we've seen people get behind her. And
right.
she even said, like, her mother, she said this on the Cheap Heat podcast. She said to Rosenberg that, you know, she realized, like, when she got backstage, she was, down and whatnot. Her mother was like, look at all these fans coming to your back, you know, and that was the thing. Like, we saw fans just, like, take to her, all different backgrounds. She's like Kofi Kingston was, in a sense where we gonna root for her because we like her and because she black, right? But when you start seeing
Facts.
people of other backgrounds jump in and say, we want this person, because, like, she's that cross-generational superstar. Like she said,
Yep.
she is Black history in the
Yes.
making,
Yes.
So I'm confident that we'll see her win the title at WrestleMania.
Okay, listen, if that's the match,
Mhm.
let's go. I'm all for it. I love
Oh, I know
I
you
love
will be.
you know what I mean? I love Bianca as much as the next person does, like if that's the match, cool. But going back to originally you asking me in regards to about Bianca, as much as I love her, it pisses me off that again, going back to what I said in regards to last year, everyone told us to be patient, this, that, and the third, and somehow it hasn't translated for Bianca. Now Bianca reminds me of Sasha in the sense of that you can't dim her star. Like even though it may be quote unquote bad booking, some way like she's still gonna get a crowd reaction, or people on social media is just gonna be buying
Wait, you
high.
ain't like her coming down 3-1 and winning that Survivor Series?
Remember I told you, but why didn't Sasha win? This is what I'm talking about. Why didn't Sasha win?
Because
Why? Go ahead. Tell me. Go ahead.
Well, remember the whole story with Sasha was that she was basically too arrogant for her team, and she didn't trust them. That was the story they was showing us on camera. I'm not going behind the scenes. I'm going with you. What they giving me on TV. Sasha was like, "Oh, because this revolves around me, and I'm the best." So they had to.
She was a face, though. She was a face. So that was not that. Maybe in the
Face,
one in
but
Chicago, the
good
Survivor
people?
Series is sure. Yeah, that one. Yeah, she's
So
very
you don't know
arrogant.
good people who are arrogant?
Sure, yeah, she's the boss. She's full, but that was they just didn't mess with. Listen, the point is, as much as I love Bianca, Bianca had a hell of a year. She had every accolade you can possibly get, and was the top woman wrestler of last year. I love it. But in regards to Survivor Series, yeah, I wanted my girl to get it. Again, this goes back to what we just started the show about. What accolades can Sasha, you can say, yeah, Sasha did this. It just up until recently, this girl had a 100 day or so reign. But before that, you remember she couldn't hold a title. She hasn't been a sole survivor. She hasn't won a Royal Rumble. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So it's just like I love Bianca, but I need my girl to have.
I'm just saying, Bianca, I don't think, she didn't get buried. Like, she didn't get beat clean by Becky, if I'm not mistaken, in any sense. So I think the long-term storytelling will climax.
All right, listen, you're an optimistic type of person, but
No,
I'm coming for your neck. If that's not the case, I'm coming for you. We're gonna do this part 2, and I'm like, I told you, this is how they treat their black women wrestlers.
Well, look, remember, Naomi was the first black woman or black superstar to win the title at WrestleMania. Now, I'm not sitting there,
Yeah, okay, all right.
I'm not saying it's all been peaches and cream by any means. We've noticed that the WWE has started to see, sponsors will buy black wrestlers at the top. They will invest in black wrestlers at the top. We've seen, much as I think he's gonna lose the title, Bobby Lashley get a second, WWE title reign. We saw him have a run. We saw Kofi had a feel-good run. We saw Big E have a run. I think Big E's was that, let's get that first one out the way. But, I think with the women, you got the Alicia Foxes. It's unfortunate that Jazz and Jacqueline, while they did hold the gold, they didn't get what Sasha and Bianca is getting, so. But I think, I think Bianca will be fine. I do want to ask you about Naomi. Her and Sonya Deville, that's a storyline that's like, woo, that kind of hit home for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it continued at the Royal Rumble. First of all, full disclosure, when I heard the Funkadactyls music, so anybody who knows me knows that Cameron is like on my personal favorite Mount Rushmore. She's there, not my not my personal professional Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
But yeah, and that's she's my favorite.
What does that mean when you say personal and she's your favorite? What does that mean?
If you told me pick my favorite 4 women's wrestlers ever.
Okay. I just wanted to see where you were going at, because I'm tired of you men and I don't want to mention any names, but people going crazy for other women while I'm sitting right there. But listen,
Well, see, me and you like this, like a brother sisterhood. So that's what I'm supposed to do. The same thing. You would go
Okay,
crazy if it was The Rock or somebody or Michael B.
okay.
Jordan. I'm gonna sit there like, okay.
I catch flack in regards to Roman, so it's all good.
Oh,
But the
look,
point is,
my
I
wife. Let me
dial
tell
it
you,
back.
my wife handed me her phone and said, or told me record this, and as Roman was walking past, just so that I could have in the same vicinity. I'm like, here you go, okay, you know.
All
I said,
right, you respect
I don't. I,
it.
look, you ain't going home to him. I was sitting. You
I'll
acknowledge
keep that
me,
in mind. Right. I'll,
but
you're right. I'll keep that in
shoot,
mind.
that's what I was like. You know, shoot, I was like, you having a good time. You getting to see Roman Reigns front row. I'm happy. You know, because meanwhile, I mean, I got to see Sasha and Bianca, and I mean, you know, it wasn't like that with them, but you know,
Yeah,
so it was like you get to see Roman Reigns. That's just fine. But
exactly.
yeah, but the thing is, like, yeah, but yeah, Cameron, yeah, she my favorite. Her, if I
Okay.
it would probably be off top, her, Trish, Sasha, and Alundra Blaze. Um,
Oh, no, that's very a diverse group. That's
yeah,
cool.
but you know, the thing is, like, when I look at, you know, I was happy that you know Cameron made her way back to the WWE for this moment. Um, but what that showed me is they're going to continue this with Naomi and Sonya Deville. What's your thoughts on this story, and like, how do you see it ending?
Um, I like it honestly. It just again, even though you mentioned Naomi won the SmackDown Women's title back in what WrestleMania 33.
33. I shed a tear for that one. I was there. Like, then she made I forgot who it was at this point. Maybe it was Alexa Bliss or Becky Lynch. When it would tap out, I was like, she
I think
really did it.
I think it was Alexa.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, listen, but with all that said, that was how many years ago. So Naomi's another person where we feel like when is her time to shine. She's went viral multiple times on Twitter, and again, people who don't watch wrestling,
Hmm.
say who's this? This girl, this woman is beautiful with the afro when she came out at Rumble and everything like that. So Naomi is another person that I feel that not only deserves her time, but she's one of the more gifted athletic wrestlers that they have. And it goes this is isn't that I'm not trying to throw shade at Charlotte and bash her, but WWE put has like since Charlotte was in NXT has trying to push this agenda, this narrative of that she's again the most athletically superior, and that her moonsaults and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, but Naomi does all that and more, much cleaner, much better than her. But yet that focus is never on Naomi or a push, where how it is
Hmm.
with Charlotte. So it's just like I'm happy that Naomi has this storyline. I I would have liked to see this feud go onto a pay per view. I thought it should have been at day one, but they chose not to do that on day one. They did it on regular TV. I would like to see that this feud goes onto a pay per view. I don't know if it's Mania or if it's Elimination Chamber, but and I that she comes out on top, because at the end of the day, Sonya is official unless she decides she's going to be a wrestler again. But she's an official, so she doesn't really need to win. Where Naomi, hey, she wins, and it's just wishful thinking, especially with now Ronda in the picture, but that she can capitalize on that. So that's kind of what I see in regards to Naomi, but I'm not hopeful because it's
Hmm.
WWE.
Well, we gotta have, you know, we love this stuff. You know, we sometimes we gotta have a little faith.
Yeah, you know
I
what?
will
We're gonna have
say
faith.
the thing that I don't like about Ronda being in the picture is I don't need a long title run. I feel like you made Kurt Angle come in and submit to the business, right? Meaning he came in and he lost, and he was a wrestler. Ronda Rousey, I guess she's a superstar, but that first run, all right, let's not do that again. Let's see her get her shoulders pinned to the mat. If you all in the business, let's see her shoulders get pinned to the mat. Let's see her tap out. let's see her get caught slipping. Let's see her in regular matches. So
Yeah,
like,
like yeah,
because
come on,
I'm
because
thinking with Naomi, I'm like, okay, you could make your build up where her and Sonya Deville have like the blow off, right? Sonya beats her a couple times on SmackDown. The build up, the payoff is at WrestleMania. That's your undercard, right? If she
okay.
wins, she becomes like the number one contender. But it's like, well, if she wins and becomes the number one contender, then she loses to Ronda. Like she gonna face Ronda. We know like that ain't going nowhere. Unless
I
you
mean,
eventually. Hmm.
I'm not to that sounds amazing in regards to, but that's wishful thinking for you to
Yeah,
say,
that's video
oh,
game
that'll be
booking.
right. Like you get what I'm saying, like undercard, but like for us to even think that they'll have more than what 3 women's matches, and that'll probably be the 2 championship matches and possibly the tag
Hmm.
team titles, right? So to have a random women's match with no title, that's like you said, video game booking.
Yeah, I want to believe that when all promotions should do even at this point. If you look at just women's wrestling across the whole landscape, it's time to move forward. And you have a lot of women out there working way better than the men. From the indies. I mean, you've been to plenty of independent wrestling, so you've seen it.
Yeah,
We can have 4 and 4. you know, we don't have to just have let's just have our women's wrestling match. You can have 4 women's matches, 4 men's matches. They can have legitimate feuds. Like that's the thing I do love about the Sonya and Naomi. Like it's a legitimate feud, no titles involved. No, and it's not your typical. Well, we used to be friends. Like as much as I like the Nikki Ash, Rhea Ripley feud, that is we used to be best friends. It's a typical feud, right? But
typical feud.
This is something different. So I
Like an
like it.
authoritative figure just giving an employee or subordinate a hard time, and it's
Hmm.
relatable because how many times you not you and I, but just us as people going to work and got
Hmm.
to deal with a boss that's just constantly giving you a hard time about something or not giving you
Exactly.
your recognition in regards to the work you do. So
Hmm.
this is extremely relatable, extremely relatable.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I would love to see them have the. I would love to see them have. Maybe even don't have to go there at WrestleMania. I would just love to see more women's wrestling matches at WrestleMania. Obviously,
Absolutely, absolutely.
but overall, I have some faith in the direction of women's wrestling. I do. I don't like the wrench that Ronda Rousey throws in things. I'm gonna be honest with you, but for the looks of it, seem like I have more faith than you do, Jenna.
I got PTSD as soon as Ronda won. It literally put me back in 2018, twenty
Mm.
nineteen. Just remembering just how everything went stagnant for the
Armbar.
women's division. Armbar, right? Like it's just like, and
Mhm.
then
Did you go to
remember, like it was.
Evolution?
I went to Evolution, yeah, and it was like a time warp, literally. And then see, I've grown a huge respect for the Bella twins or whatever, but just again, it felt like a time warp just seeing Ronda, the Bella twins, and Charlotte, and it's just the same people running the division in 2018, and it was just like, oh god,
I was gonna ask you that before we get out of here. Bella Twins.
yeah, yes,
Would you like to see them have one tag title run?
yes, yes, a thousand
Okay.
percent. Listen, like I get it. They're from the Divas era, and a lot of divas at the time got a lot of flack because they weren't actual wrestlers or eat, sleep, and dream, breathe, whatever wrestling.
Mm.
But I've always said this, and I've said this on our podcast. I I've grown to respect them because even though they didn't grow up as wrestling fans, they're extremely, extremely passionate and they stay very in tune with the product, even though they're quote unquote retired. And outside of that, they're actually an actual prototypical tag team, right?
Mhm.
Not like how you put Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross together, or Nikki Ash and Rhea together, and Carmella and Zelina. Alexa, stop! Alexa, stop!
That
Yeah,
happens with Google. I have Google in the house. That happens all the time.
because I said Bliss's name. Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
Anyway, yeah. So all these teams, like Carmella and Zelina, like all these teams were not actual teams except for maybe the Iconics. So like when
Mhm.
you look at the Bella Twins, they came in as a team. So absolutely, I've been calling it since the tag team titles, they debuted that they should have one run. I don't know if they have it in them because I know Nikki has gone through her injuries and then now they're mothers and have this whole other life and entrepreneurs, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't if I'd be for it. I know the Bella Army would go. That's one thing. People say a lot of things about the Sasha crew and how hard we go. I've come across like people in the Bella Army, like that fan base. They don't play about their Nikki and
you know,
Brie.
the thing is about the divas. I think as somebody who loves wrestling and loves the craft, but also, um, like it's not something that I would do. Not at 35. At one point, I wanted to. That was long, long time ago.
Mhm.
I don't like the notion that they don't respect the business. Because I think those days of the early Goldbergs, right, where he could come in and pretty much do what he wanted to do, and because he was a star, they let him get away with a lot, according to some rumor and innuendos. I think those days are gone. I think it's too many OGs in the locker room that's going to make sure you respect the business. So even with the
Right.
women, um they just, to me, it was always they just wasn't given the time. But when they're going out there, they taking bumps. They putting their body on the line. Maybe because I took a bump one time and I know how much that hurts to think about
Yeah,
people who used to be models going out there doing that over and over again. I have respect for them,
I
even if they
agree.
did it for 6 months or to a year.
I
And
agree.
it's a reason why I do like that the WWE has brought in some of the legends to be a part of these women's Royal Rumbles, because hey, y'all didn't have this back in the day, but we're gonna give you this opportunity. I know some people's like, well, they could use NXT stars, whatever, but I do like the fact that they get this opportunity to do that. Like, that's the thing about this year's Royal Rumble. So many stories with, even with Nikki Ash and Molly Holly. Molly Holly was, a phenomenal women's wrestler who didn't get an
Yeah.
opportunity to be in Royal Rumble. So um, I hope we get the Bellas at one more run, even if it's just a week, or, win and lose the next night on Raw. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think they listen. I think they deserve it. And again, the tag team title specifically, it's I don't want to say it's made for them, but it's made for them. They're a tag team. And I feel like if you gave the Bellas the tag, if they were on board for like you said, maybe not even a week, like let's say get a month or two, if they were on board for that, because the payoff would be a big match, let's say at SummerSlam or something like that. It works for them because and you know again how much eyes would be around that title because again they have such a huge fan base and now specifically they're super mainstream, so it's just like
Mhm.
but I don't understand why WWE doesn't think like this, but hey, what do I know?
All right. So appreciate you coming on, Jenna. Let the people know where they can find you before we get out of here.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Jenna Baby, BAYBEE. You can follow me also on the Mixed Tag Show with my co-host Blue Magic Grind. Yeah, we're just trying to keep up with Brian H. Waters and put out this content and hopefully, the public enjoys and like just going back to our conversation right before we got on, just it's not a lot of people that look like us that enjoys wrestling, but we're out there. So we just want to just continue to show that and that we have
No,
a voice too.
I'll say this. I've learned that it's actually a lot of people, but I think in these past 5 years, they've been willing to show it. Y-
Yes. That's
because
yes.
before, growing up, people were like, like, for instance, I'll give you a quick
Yeah.
story before we get out of here. When me and Dwayne met at Morgan State University,
Hmm.
and we started talking about wrestling, and we would be talking about, this is just the time frame, WrestleMania
Yeah.
27 era. So it's like leading into, the Rock's coming back, and the John Cena and the Miz stuff. We would talk
Right.
wrestling and be standing there, and then people be walking by. Oh yeah, I saw that too. Like, wait, you watch wrestling too? So I think now our core group have been essential in making other people, especially a lot of people who consume our product, non-apologetic about it.
Yes.
Yes. So
I
I'm excited.
agree.
Yeah, but yeah, we're definitely gonna link up soon. Hopefully very soon before this. Hopefully it'll be in Dallas.
Soon, that DMV act.
No. That's Baltimore. Baltimore and
Okay, so that's
DMV.
Baltimore. Sorry, Baltimore. Do. I love it though. But yeah, definitely. If Dallas is the move, yes, we of course obviously have to link.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Break It Down with Brian H. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get notified every time the Wrestling Realm posts new content.